Hi, this is Tina Powell, host of In the Suite, where I sit down with top women leaders and some of the biggest names in the financial services and the wealth management industry. Together, we'll discover some of their best secrets and top strategies to grow a great business, build a strong brand, and lead teams in the 21st century. I hope you'll enjoy hearing their amazing personal stories of triumph, trepidation, and transformation in hopes of becoming better leaders ourselves. The time for you to lead is now, and you're in the suite. Marsha Guerrier is best-selling author, speaker, trainer, business analyst, coach, and CEO of Women on the Rise in New York. HerSuiteSpot, a minority and women business-owned certified coaching and small business consulting agency. As a woman in tech, Marsha has everything it takes to produce a world-class, phenomenal event and then some. Marsha is the founder of Her Rise Conference, formerly known as Women on the Rise Forum and Expo, the premier event for women of color leaders, entrepreneurs, executives, and their allies, taking place virtually on Friday, October 9th to Saturday, October 10th, now in its 7th year. For this year's Her Rise conference, and because of COVID-19, Marsha said the event must go on. Well, leave it to her, a senior test engineer who also happens to be a serial entrepreneur, a mom, business coach, and a 3-time best-selling author, to find a way to engineer a new virtual experience that includes a pitch competition and $20,000 worth of micro grants for women of color. Marsha also has a full-time career in financial technology, spanning over 20 years working for Fortune 500 companies and startups in the area of quality assurance, business analysis, and product management. She's worked at CheckFree, Citigroup, and now at Iprio as a senior test engineer in debt domain syndicated loans. Marsha also holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Management and Economics. And one of the many gifts that you'll discover about Marsha is her support of other women, whether it's through her books, coaching, Her Rise Conference, and the nonprofit, the Yva Jourdan Foundation. Marsha's life is focused on advancing women of color in their careers and their businesses. She organizes HerSuiteSpot, her podcast, and her life around 4 main pillars: mindset, marketing, money, and media. So get ready to rise up with Marsha Guerrier in the suite. Welcome, Marsha Guerrier. I'm so excited to have you in the suite today. Finally, it's been a while. You and I have been going back for a couple of weeks, and that's how life works, right?
Yes, that's how it works. But I'm so grateful to finally have this time to chat with you in the suite.
Oh man, we are going to have such a great time today. You are involved in a lot of interesting projects, so I cannot wait to speak to you. You are a 3-time best-selling author. Marsha's a business coach. She is a philanthropist. And oh, by the way, she is a senior test engineer at debt domain syndicated loans. I mean, how cool is that? And you're a mom on top of it.
Yes. My son, who is now my assistant at home.
I love it. I love it. And, you have such a really incredible background and vitae. And I've been following you now on Twitter for quite a while at HerSuiteSpot. That is spelled HerSuiteSpot. And so the other thing is, like, how cool is that to have HerSuiteSpot in the suite today? That's really great. And you also too have a podcast of your own. I caught a couple of episodes, and I love how you start out your podcast each day with a tip. And so I thought it would be really cool to ask, hey, can you give us a great tip to start off our Friday?
Yes. Happy Friday, everyone. So one of the tips that I love to share with people is around, my 4 pillars of the HerSuiteSpot are mindset, money, marketing, and media. And one of my best tips for people is around media. And what a perfect place to be talking about it, right? On your podcast, talking about, you just mentioned my podcast. And so I want to encourage people to not overthink the type of media exposure that they should get for their business. As you know, having someone talk about you on any platform is good news, right? That's free press. So it's really important, especially if you're new in business and or trying to really get a leg up in your career, to find podcasts just like this, just like HerSuiteSpot Experience podcast, and put yourself out there. Begin to create a buzz in more what I call the internet streets before you're looking to get straight to the mainstream media. So when you're looking for media for your career and your business elevation, definitely look towards bloggers and podcasters to get yourself out there.
That is such great advice. And when I listen to your podcast, that is again at HerSuiteSpotExperience.com. That is with the SUITE as in sweet, like we're in right now. I was really impressed. You interview a lot of great women on that. I'll say you cover a lot of different ground. And it is about making sure that women get their voices out and experiment with new mediums. Why do you think the trepidation exists, right? I know for my own self.
Yeah.
So Marsha, you had your podcast way before I had in the suite. And I have to admit, I had some early trepidation. I had to master a learning curve. What is your advice to women besides if they are ready to experiment with new mediums and new media forms, such as blogging and such as podcasting? What's a great way for those women to get started? Because it is a little daunting in the beginning, right?
It's absolutely daunting. And I would say, one, just get started. Find a platform that you're comfortable with. A lot of them may seem super technical, maybe. So there are so simple platforms that you could get started with. And don't put too much pressure on yourself to be a everyday blogger or everyday podcaster. Start off with once a month, then go to twice a month, then go to weekly. And if you ever make it, I haven't made it to a daily show because we've got so much going on. But if you can make it to that, then great. But I feel like getting yourself into the media world is really great fun, and don't take it too seriously.
And that is great advice from a 3-time best-selling author and from the CEO of HerSuiteSpot, a business coaching agency for women of color entrepreneurs. God, you're involved in so many great things. And here's one of I love this. I found this. Someone said this about you, and it's public, so I guess that I can mention her by name then. That was Natasha. Natasha Nurse said, Marsha is a visionary dedicated to empowering women in their personal life and business through her unforgettable events, best-selling books, and digital content. And I think that that's really in line with what you were just talking about, mindset, money, and marketing. And what gave you the idea to start HerSuiteSpot, a business coaching agency? Because you have other things going on, and we're going to be talking about your philanthropy. And you are also, again, you're an engineer on the side, a senior test engineer. So that is to have both of those going at the same time. What was the catalyst for you starting that coaching agency in the first place?
Well, in FinTech and FinServe, I was fortunate enough to be put in leadership roles at times. And so I found myself mentoring people all the time, talking to younger women, especially particularly women of color in the industry, on how to navigate being in the industry. And then I got to a point where my friends and even myself with, side businesses that I would run throughout my life, I've tried different businesses. I'm a serial entrepreneur, as they say. And I got to a point where I realized a lot of my friends were kind of caught up in a hamster wheel where we're just kind of doing anything to see what would stick. And I wanted to create from even myself a place and a space where I could learn, I could support, I could get support, and I could support other women on a similar journey. And that's what I did. And I did it with the first Woman on the Rise Forum and Expo, which is a conference that I produce now. We're going on our 7th year.
Yeah, I
And
saw that. I was like, wow, 7 years.
yes, I get so amazed by people's reaction to the longevity of it. Although I know it is not easy, but I used to be an event planner. I produced events in the past. And so to me, it comes natural and I love it. So I've merged the two things that I love the most, event planning and helping educate and train people. And so I came up with the event 7 years ago. We had a room of 20 people. We were in a community center. We had maybe 7 or 8 vendors, and it was a success. People wanted more, and we've grown from that to serving 150 people last year. We went from a 4-hour half-day conference with 20 women, 8 vendors, to 2-day conference and 150 women around the 2 days and 15 plus vendors every year. So it's been an amazing journey.
I loved it. I loved actually researching your background and finding the description for the Rise Forum and event happening. Now it's happening in October of 2020. Is this now, because of COVID, a lot of events have gone virtual? How are you organizing it this year?
So in the very beginning of the year, going through my own personal experiences with the COVID, the pandemic, mental health, becoming a homeschool teacher, I decided to actually cancel the event. So I said, I can't do this. It's too much. And so many things has progressed during this time that I said, what were you thinking? It must go on. I'm a woman in tech. Hello, I have everything it takes to produce a phenomenal virtual event. And that's exactly what we're doing. We found a platform online, Hopin, which is super amazing and can actually help me bring my live experience to the virtual world. So we'll still have vendors, we'll still have networking breakouts. So I'm super excited for this year. And with the change of 2020 also had me rethink the name of the conference. So Woman on the Rise Forum and Expo will now be known as the Her Rise Conference.
Wow. OMG. The Her Rise Conference. That is beautiful. That is so strong and powerful. When are the dates for the Her Rise Conference?
It will be October 9th and 10th. We have a phenomenal lineup. I amazed myself. And literally, I just started planning in June. This is a conference that I've been running for, like I said, 7 years. When we end in October, by December, I have a draft of the conference. By February, I would have speakers and the agenda roughly completed and everyone pretty much booked. This year, I literally started in June, and I already have an amazing lineup. We have a pitch competition that will be taking place and some amazing judges that I hope people will get excited about.
I'm excited. I'm going to be there. I'm excited, even in researching before you changed the name. So I loved it. I love how you explain it. And for those of you listening right now, if you're on treadmill or if you're driving right now, let me tell you why you need to be there too. We are, and you're going to join me there because I'm going to be there. We are going to get ready for 2 days of elevation, education, and transformative experience from our luminary speakers and educators in the areas of mindset, money, marketing, and media. The 4 pillars that you started out with, Marsha, that these things that you stand for. Who doesn't need information about mindset, marketing, money, and media? We all need something, but it sounds like that you have events, you've got entrepreneurs, you've got coaches, career professionals, product makers. And I love it now with these, I guess, these new pitches. This is really a fantastic experience that you are cultivating. I know that if Marsha Guerrier is behind it, that this will be a rock star event. That I know about you.
Thank you so much, Tina. You're so sweet.
One of the other ideas that I saw, and I guess that it culminates with the HerRise conference now. Oh, I love just saying it. Is unbeknownst to me that I found out that you were also to have a HerRise micro grant.
Yes.
So here you are an engineer, you are a conference organizer, you're a business coach, and you are a philanthropist. Wow. I love what you are doing right now for women of color. So if I understand it correctly, you are offering $20,000 grants, micro grants.
We're giving away a little over $20,000 in total. We are giving 20 women. We're going to select 20 women through our application process to get $500 each. And then from that, we're going to select 5 women to pitch live at this year's conference and in front of our judges. And we're going to be giving a grand prize of $5,000. First place is $2,500. Second place, I think it's $15,000. Third place is $1,000. And then we're going to pick a fan favorite. So everyone at the conference gets to be in on the action and vote for their favorite pitch, product, or service that we'll be pitching. So we're excited about that. That's another great thing about this virtual experience that we're creating, that you actually get to be involved.
That's really, really cool. And even before that, I mean, you've been known for your philanthropy. You have the Yva Jourdan Foundation. So This isn't something new for Marsha, everybody. It's not like she just decided to oh yeah, I'm going to do a virtual event and I'm going to tack on a foundation. No, this is a woman. This is an entrepreneur. This is a smart, savvy businesswoman that has had philanthropy as a part of her life. I have to tell you, as being a female entrepreneur, and I would say also too, maybe not a serial entrepreneur as you, it was really inspiring to see that. Where did the impetus of, tell us a little bit about the Yva Jourdan Foundation, and, explain to us how you also too started these micro grants, and, what's been some really cool success stories, because a little money, right, goes a long way.
Such a long way. The micro grants are not meant to pay your rent or make a huge financial impact, but what it does is motivates and inspires women that are receiving these small grants to keep pushing, that someone can see them. It's further validation to the ideas that they have come up with to start for a business, because it's a process. We don't just pick you up from anywhere. You do have to go through a process of applying. This is not our first pitch competition. We had a pitch competition 2 or 3 years ago. And, the women get to practice and hone in on their message. Women that would normally not see themselves pitching, women that are really just running businesses just to make ends meet, now get this experience and can see themselves pitching. And, one day, why can't I be on Shark Tank too?
Exactly.
Reach, right?
Did you read my mind? I watch Shark Tank all the time. It is one of my favorite shows. And then I saw it this week, they had, and I don't know if it was a repeat or not, they had like an inflatable life vest. So you know how sometimes you're wearing a life jacket, you could be very like uncomfortable, and especially if you're like doing things on the water. And then this one, it's very thin, and then you pull it in order to inflate. And that Exactly. And it was Coast Guard approved, and they've got the patent, they've got the whole thing.
I love that show.
Right? It's so interesting. I think all of us, right?
And it validates a lot of people's ideas too.
Yeah.
There's not just one sneaker company. There's not just one shoe company. There's not just one clothing line. So it's okay if you're developing and just re-engineering something that already exists. No one is trying to reinvent the wheel. We can't. It's been made. And it's okay to find a product and look at it from a different lens, develop it into something where you feel you can improve upon for a specific problem. And so years ago, I started the Yva Jourdan Foundation truly because I've been volunteering all my life. Volunteered. You cleaned up the block, you did whatever, right? And so I had this overwhelmingly joyous feeling in my heart. And I started handing out food to the homeless and just making sandwiches. Then I started telling people about it. And then people offered me money to help me. And I wasn't expecting it at all. And when people started giving me money, I said, well, it's not a write-off for you, but thank you. And then I said, you know what? I need a way to help people get write-offs that want to support. And it was people who would normally not make donations anywhere. They became philanthropists too. So they get to give to me and to my cause, and can say now that they do philanthropy work. I was fortunate enough to be accepted by the Hofstra Law Clinic, Hofstra University in New York.
That is so impressive.
They accepted me into their program and helped me through the process get my tax exempt status. And every year we've evolved in our mission so our overall mission is always to support children and families, particularly women and children with special needs. And the special needs could be almost anything. And so we started working with children with disabilities and special needs. I volunteered at my church teaching young kids with special needs, religion, and it just evolved into school supply giving. We have an annual backpack drive, which this year is we're unsure what we should do about it with school being so.
Oh yeah, it's so hard. I was just in the Publix the other day. I was in the grocery store, and they had all types of school supply packaging already already co-assembled, and then you can donate to the grocery store there, and then they'll send one of those packages. But exactly, it is so confusing right now, this whole area of schooling and what's due. And like you yourself started out in the broadcast, Marsha, saying like, oh, by the way, now you're homeschooling. You're forced to homeschool.
You're right. And so everything this year is just making you kind of rethink the way things happen. So my volunteers were always so excited to put together the backpacks. We deliver them to whatever recipient would be for the year. And this year we can't do that. And we're looking into programs where we could just make donations and they will ship it directly to families and to schools so that it's safe for them. And we are not exposing ourselves and other people during this time. So we're finding new ways to give our backpack season. And again, it evolved into education. Like I said, I was always teaching. And so I turned it over to my personal passion, which is entrepreneurship. We teach young kids about entrepreneurship as well in those 4 pillars. And we've had workshops in that area. I volunteer my time to teach that. And then we partner with great sponsors often where they sponsor us to have an event. And for our annual women's conference, Her Rise conference, we do partner with brands and companies that want that exposure as well through our conference.
You're such an extraordinary woman. Again, a lot of these things have already been in place for you, Marsha. Even the foundation was established in 2007 and 2017. You know, these are now it's 3 years old. Your event is 7 years
Oh,
old.
it was established in 2009.
Oh, wow. 2009. Okay. So thank
Yeah.
you very much for the correction. I'm even more impressed if I wasn't
Yeah.
ready. How hard is it for some of the women listening, especially, I think a lot of us have a lot of those similar tendencies to you, that we want to give back. We feel very privileged and very blessed that we have the lives that we do. We work for great companies. We have great clients. We go to work every day, and we're just very, very happy about the work that we're putting out in the universe here. What would you say, what would be your advice? Should everyone set up a foundation? What would be the different boxes that you would need to check to say, if you were coaching me right now, if Tina wanted to set up a foundation, what kind of questions would you ask, whether or not that, hey, I should do this?
Yes, I get this a lot. A lot of my service-based, heart-centered clients do think that they should try and go down the nonprofit route because they believe that nonprofits magically get a lot of money, that this grant world is open to anyone that exists as a nonprofit, and that is not true. It doesn't happen that easily, I would say, unless you already have a network of philanthropy type people that understand giving and will give to you regularly. If not, you would need to ensure that you have resources that will do grant writing for you, grant searching for you, proposals. It is probably harder than if you started a business and charge people the fees for your services. So people believe that they want to do the service and the work that they do, but if they could get grants and money to do it, to pay them, it will allow them to still get paid, still earn income, but through some type of nonprofit way. And it really is difficult. It's harder to get started and to keep your nonprofit funded.
Wow, that's so interesting. Thank you for that. I would rather just make a contribution to you and the Yva Jourdan Foundation. And that's a way that one can express philanthropy. Grants are extreme. You have to really, really know what you're doing in terms of grants. There are people who that's all they do. You can graduate with a degree in grant writing. And right. I feel that it's a part art and science. And I was on a board for Southern Connecticut State University, where I served there for 7 years on their business advisory council. And I would remember when we had to do grants, I wasn't in the room. I was not selected in the room to do that. But this is what it was. It's like, okay, we have to do the grants. The door did not open for like 3 days, 4 days. You didn't come out, right? It is like a total shutdown. You make yourself inaccessible to the rest of the world because it is so extreme. I really, really am impressed. And I'm hearing what you're saying. Even if you are successful right on the front end of, hey, the grant was accepted, you're getting those monies. This is not just a once and done event. This is something that you have to continue to do. And which I think is a really good segue. As I look at your career, Marsha, you have a lot of momentum, right? You're a person of momentum. You have done a lot of, it's not like one podcast episode. It's a lot of podcast episodes. It's not just one book. It's 3 best-selling books. And, I want to make sure that everybody knows that Marsha does have a page on Amazon. You can go to Amazon.com and find books by Marsha Guerrier. And she's written a book in 2017. She's written a book in 2018, another one in 2019. Let me just read off some of the text, some of the titles. Life Balance, the one in 2017, Life Balance for the Woman on the Rise, A Woman's Guide to Finding Balance. And then the second book in October 2018. Boy, I can't wait to discuss all this stuff with you, Marsha, and find the secret sauce here. Business Success Strategies for Women on the Rise. And then you mention in 2019, soaring beyond the 9 to 5 for women on the rise. Wow.
Yeah.
How, like, how are you getting all of this done? What is your, like, what I would have thought, like, hey, having being a mom, and I know because I'm a mom too, I'm probably after the first book I would have been like exhausted, and now you've
Well,
got,
I can tell you.
wow.
I can tell you, each of these books are anthologies as well that I have not completed the entire book. I write chapters, I write the introduction. I am also the publisher of the book. I make sure, so in Women on the Rise and Her Sweet Spot is all about amplifying other women's voices, right? And
Yeah.
so there are women with dreams of becoming an author. Just like you may want to become an author and get published, yet the idea of producing an entire book is daunting, like you said. And so I work with women and train them to produce a chapter's worth of content. Give us your story. In all those anthologies that we produced, we ask women in various fields to write their stories, give advice and tips so that women that are reading the book can relate to their story and can find that, they're not one in a million, they're one in a few, and we could all help each other. We all have experiences that will motivate and inspire others. And so the books have been a way to not only get my voice out there, but also as a way to help amplify other women. And so I'm super proud of the women that have wrote for the book projects that I've produced. It really has helped them to come out of their shell. And a majority of my authors then become book authors of their own. They write their own books that they could publish and sell to the marketplace as well. So,
And one of the things that really impresses me about you, Marsha, is that everything that you're involved in touches one of those 4 pillars. And you started out with a great tip on media, experimenting with different forms of media, putting ourselves out there. And one of the strategies that we don't hear a lot of is the Amazon strategy, to make sure that your content is findable, searchable on Amazon, which you've done brilliantly here. And I love how you have how you've not only amplified your own voice, but you've amplified the voices of other authors, such as Stacy Niccolo, Yvette Solomon, Alexandra Fenard. And what's really cool is on Amazon, it's not just that you're mentioning those articles, but it actually is a clickable and searchable link that brings you to that next author. So kudos to you for not only amplifying the voices, but doing it in a way that's very like 2020 and tech. So I would expect nothing less from you, Marsha.
thank you.
You have
It's so true.
Yeah.
You have to, that's the whole point of my network and building a solid network for women to support one another. I mean, the movement for women right now in showing support and allyship for each other is important. And it's because we probably all of us have come up through heavily male dominated industries, and women were kind of always put against each other, vying for that one position that would go to the one woman. And so now we're really coming together in a way that I haven't seen, having been in this industry for over 23 years. I don't like to share my age, Tina, but
I know, but you had some impressive experience, Miss Marsha. Check Free, Citigroup, Iprio, like these are big companies. You started out, you were at Citigroup as a senior business analyst for 5 years. I want to celebrate that. So we don't have to say when the origin, but I am probably older than you, which might even surprise you. But, really, I know you've been in the industry for a while. Kind of tell us and share with us how that origin story started. I mean, it looks like you had your first position at Check Free.
I actually didn't. I probably stopped putting all my positions online or even on my resume, because then I look really old.
Me too. I get it. I get it. And
So
not
I
only that, it
actually,
doesn't apply anymore, right? Like, yeah, we don't need to have our last, our last 20 things that we've done. But,
yeah.
Tell us about the foray into the financial services and what brought you here.
So funny enough, in high school, many, many years ago, I was accepted. So I was always excelling, and I knew corporate America was the place that I would thrive. And so in high school, I joined uh, the co-op program. It was back then. So there was a program that would allow you to go to school part-time and have a part-time job. And I won't tell you, my first job actually was in the ninth grade, and it was working in the New York City morgue in the call center department. And
Wow.
so I have always been attracted to working in corporate environments. And my first job in the industry after some time in college was, oh no, in high school, I got the first job at Shearson Lehman.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
That's
That's
like
really,
ancient,
really
right?
cool.
They're now
That's
city.
really, really cool, actually. I had a babysitting job in high school, and you were already in corporate America, Marsha.
I'm so lucky. I never had, when I got to, at one point in college, this is a funny story. I was so, I felt like I missed that fast food job experience. So I went and worked at the campus burger joint.
I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yeah, so I was like, wait, how did she get Shearson Lehman and I got KFC? What did I do wrong?
It's so funny when I went to apply for a job, student work at the college that I was going to. They put me in the accounting office. Accounting was my first major before entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
but in management. And I was like, why do I have to work here? I'm in college. No. So I left the accounting department job and I said, put me with the cool kids in the cafe. And I went to work there instead. And I had the time of my life. And then I worked for Nathan Lewis, most likely if I knew one of the very first outsourcing companies in the fintech or finserv industry, where they were a broker dealer that had a division that was outsourcing work for another financial company. And this is before the really huge boom of outsourcing. And I was so happy to work there. I was able to work my way up into the more away from the back office end and into technology. And that's how I grew my career as a business analyst and now a software test engineer working directly with developers. I personally don't code, but I work with the developers in ensuring that they build their practice and our software. So it's been a long road in the industry, and I've touched various, I'm that person that started from file clerk office all the way up now to where I am in development.
Wow, that's such an amazing success story. Again, looking at your vitae, are you happy about the transition to the senior test engineer? From what I understand is that even if you're not writing code, that even just communicating with developers requires a certain core competency, a certain set of skills. So what do you find that's different about having to relate to, those senior developers and how are you meeting? I almost I want to know a day in the life of Marsha, right? What does a day look like? Right. And, how often are you meeting? Are you meeting obviously you're meeting virtually now? Kind of just tell us what even just an abbreviated part of your day looks like. I'm really fascinated. One of the goals of in the Sweet podcast here, which you bring, is telling us another story, adding on to the stories that we've already heard.
Yeah, it's hard work, basically, but passion, having a passion to learn more, having a passion to understand the work that you're doing and not just do a rotational job, and moving away from, middle office type work and wanting to be more analytical, wanting to be a part of the innovation of the products that we were offering to our marketplace. For me, that is really what drives me to remain in the role, and working directly with developers for me and the business. So as a test engineer, you're working to ensure that stakeholders and product managers visions are being executed with excellence, through the development team. And so I am always the connector. And even in my business, in HerSuiteSpot, I'm always referenced as the connector, because I'm always connecting my clients and people that are not my clients to the resources and the tools that they need to thrive.
That's so cool. We became connected because of Cheryl Hickerson and Females in Finance, that you and I both belong to the same New York chapter. And I'm not surprised that people would say that, because again, your career is evidence of the fact that you are connecting all of these people to great causes and to each other. That's what I think is really exciting. So let's talk. I know you've got a lot of things going on today, and we so do appreciate your time. I want to just get back to the Her Rise conference, October 9th to 10th. Kind of give us some information on where to go. And then second question is how people can find you.
Well, you can find me on social media at HerSuiteSpot.com. That's HerSuiteSpot. On Instagram, HerSuiteSpot, Twitter, HerSuiteSpot, and LinkedIn on HerSuiteSpot. And you can find me as Marsha Guerrier anywhere you so choose as well. And to learn more about the conference, you can go to HerSuiteSpot.com and click on events and get to the Her Rise conference page. We are really just getting underway, like I said, with the agenda, with our speakers, and registration will be opening towards the end of August. And I just can't wait to have you guys really get introduced to some of the amazing people that will be presenting this year.
Wow, I am too. Is there a cost on the event?
Yes, we are finalizing the cost for the event and finalizing what our early bird special will be. So I would love, Tina, we will touch base as we get closer, and I'll give your listeners a special coupon discount code just for your listeners.
Oh, wow. That would be so great. And I also too, I wanted to sponsor my team of women. I have a team of 3. 2 women on the team are women of color. And what we've been doing is I've been sponsoring a lot of great resources, and to sponsor their participation at a virtual event would actually make them so excited.
Awesome.
We're really enjoying learning and expanding our minds, and, new topics, new speakers. And I know that anything you touch, Marsha, comes to gold. So I do so appreciate that. I have one more final question, which is a question that we ask of all women in the suite. And that is that, a lot of times we need to champion that superpower, and each woman does it a little differently. With some, it's lipstick. Some, it's like me, something in my back pocket. Cheryl Hickerson, actually, it's her beeper. Her pager, right? You and I know what, I guess that I'm kind of demystifying. Beeper equals pager. Just Google it if you don't know what it means. Marsha and I know what it means. But what is it for you? How you've had to show up so many times throughout your career, and whether or not it's a negotiation for another opportunity, or to pitch, or to get sponsors to your events. How do you call upon your superpower in HerSuiteSpot?
I can tell you there's only one way: through God. And I developed here's another thing we haven't talked about, but I am the creator of the Plan, Pay, Prosper Planner. It's a weekly planner that I created at first for a need of myself, in order to find that spiritual balance as I was working towards my goal. So it's a planner. It has monthly prayer focus. It has weekly scripture, and it really helps me channel my spirituality through all the things that I do. I can't do a thing without that.
Wow. Well, I would also too like to make sure that we have that available. Again, everybody, in the show notes, you will receive all of these great resources. I'm going to put a link to everything Marsha Guerrier, and it is just you've given us a wealth of information here, and really have inspired us with your giving and your outreach. And especially the way that you connect to other people. You certainly are that connection for us today, Marsha. So I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone that's listening. And I hope to see you guys again in the suite, and certainly at HerSuiteSpot.
Great. And we will see you at the Her Rise conference, October 9th to 10th. Thank you, everyone. You're listening to In the Suite, a podcast that shares amazing stories of women in business in the financial services and the wealth management industry. Our producers for today's episode are Tina Powell and Kevin Hirshorn. Our editor at large is Kevin Hirshorn. Our content writers are Simone Brathwaite, Carmen Varner, and Tina Powell. Our research and technical assistants are Anvitha Kosaraju, Rachel Powell, and Natika Upridi. In the Suite podcast is sponsored by C-Suite Social Media, a digital marketing and social agency for C-Suite leaders in finance and technology. You can visit csuitesocialmedia.com to learn more and for show notes from today's broadcast. And thank you so much for listening and subscribing to In the Suite podcast. Please let us know how you enjoyed this episode with Marsha Guerrier, and share your thoughts on LinkedIn and Twitter with the hashtag #InTheSuite. I would love it, and we mean so much if you left us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to this amazing episode with Marsha Guerrier. You can follow her on Twitter at HerSuiteSpot. That's HerSuiteSpot. And always, if you would like to share the name of a successful woman in financial services we should interview, please send it to me at tina@csuitesocialmedia.com. We have received a lot of great names so far, and we've adjusted to a weekly distribution schedule to make it all possible just for you. It's been tough, but we're ready to rise to the challenge. Again, thank you so much for listening and subscribing to In the Suite.